So welcome to Health, Wealth and Happiness. Welcome to the show. Today's guest is Joe Zalias, stand-up comedian, actor, published, novelist, professional and commissioned screenwriter. Is that right?
It's correct.
Okay. Yeah, and just all-round nice guy, to be fair. So, yeah, Joe, how's things?
Yeah, good. Yeah, I'm currently sat in a vest at work. Yeah, all good.
Nice. Awesome. Okay. So for those that don't know, who is Joe Zalias?
It's a difficult question. No, Joe Zalias is a made-up name for a start, but I am Joe's school friend. I grew up in the same area as Joe, and we were talking about this the other day, that people from our sort of village tend to be comfortable with an easy life, a 9-to-5 job, and drinking at the weekend, and that's their lot in life. Where I think me and Joe, we stepped out of that, and we've attempted to achieve some bigger things. Yeah. So I think so. In answer to your question, I hate talking about myself in third person, but Joe Zalias is a trier. nothing less, nothing more. I'm a trier. That's all I am.
Tell us about that then. How the name came about. You know, how did it come about?
So the name came about. I was in the fire service. I was a firefighter in South Yorkshire Fire and Rescue for 11 years. And all the while I was doing that, I was also a stand-up comedian. And the two didn't mix very well. And the organisation hated it. And I was under investigation.
Should you be telling us this?
Yeah, I'll tell you this. Well, I'll tell you some real stories as well. I don't care.
Keep it going.
So they hated it. And in the 10 years I was in service, I was demoted twice. I got to be a watch commander. I was demoted twice, and I was under investigation 10 different times throughout the service, all for things I did on stage. Nothing I did at work. I was great at work, but people offended by something, I'd always go to them first to investigate me. And
Really did do that?
They really did that. Yeah, really did that.
Surely what you do outside work's none of their business.
Well, you'd think that, but it was horrendous. They infiltrated my Facebook account, which is illegal, by the way. If I ever took them to an actual tribunal, they'd lose, but I couldn't be bothered, to be honest. But they actually had somebody infiltrate my Facebook account, sit on my account for nearly a year. Anytime that I said something they thought they could use as evidence, they printed it off. When I got my investigation meeting, they slammed in like a thick file, I'll show you sometime, full of every statement I'd ever made, printed off, time and date stamped, and I had to justify what I did. At one point, they found a YouTube video of my stand-up, and they asked me to kind of clarify and justify everything I said. So I had to sit in essentially what's like a kangaroo courtroom with a manager pretending to be the judge. I had the jury, there was the investigation team, and I had to do my stand-up set in them sort of circumstances. And I'll be honest, it were a tough crowd.
Love it.
What joke were it? Not bad.
It's not bad. But I think rather than ruining another career, I think I'll learn my lesson and keep my mouth shut.
Okay, I'll ask you later.
I'll tell you this one. This is one of them, right? I said one of the things they found on the YouTube video was me talking about, I said, being a firefighter and having a newborn baby at home. I says, that's tough because I come in from work. I've had a long day at work. I come in and straight away, my wife at the time wants to pass me the baby. The baby's screaming and she's crying. She's like, I've had to deal with this shit all day. Your turn now. Passes me the baby, right? So I thought after a few weeks of this, I got mad. So I decided to get my own back. I came home from work. I walked straight past her and the baby, and I just set fire to the kitchen. I was just like, hey, I've had to deal with this all week. Your turn. And so anyway, this is the routine I was doing on stage. And they pulled that up and they sat me down in like a courtroom setting and said, please could you tell us what that video makes us think about your idea of women's roles in society. And I was like, you're kidding. They're crazy, huh?
Okay. Yeah.
So for you then, Joe, you're saying, about the comedy and everything else. What was the turning point for you that got you moving forward towards the acting and everything else?
Oh, yeah. And it coincides with I completely lost the point about my name, Joe Zalias.
Yeah.
So I found out I was under investigation from the fire service, and after the disciplinary, they told me I could no longer do stand-up comedy as my second job. And I knew there were posters going out for my stand-up show, so I needed to think of a second name, a new name, so that they couldn't find me as easy. So I sat down. I had like an hour to think of a new name, a new stage name, and I thought, do you know what? I need an alias, Joe Zalias. Yeah, fuck it, that'll do. So Joe Zalias is Joe Zalias, and say it stuck.
Love it.
Okay, but okay, so for James' benefit and the benefit of the audience, run us through your CV.
Oh my God, I've done so much. I started work, leaving school. I started work in a factory around mine and Joe's area. There's a factory called the Ronseal Factory, where they employ a lot of people. And my first job at the Ronseal Factory, it was my job. I had to turn tins of varnish on a conveyor belt so that the label faced the right way when the machine stacked it. Talk about job satisfaction, eh? So I was doing this for about 3 weeks, absolute mind numbing. And what I did is I engineered, I got a stick and I wedged this stick, this metal and a piece of metal together, and I bent the metal over, and it hit the tins of varnish and it turned them for me. And when the manager saw what I had done, I'd essentially made myself redundant, and I replaced myself with the stick. So I was out of a job. And but yeah, so I've done that. Ronseal Factory. I was a tree surgeon for a little while. I was a kickboxing instructor. I had a couple of martial arts clubs, and then I also worked on the doors as a bouncer for a while. And when I was in that period of time, I got involved with some sort of organised crime sort of syndicates, and at that sort of time, I actually got the call to say I'd got in the fire service. Do you want me to tell you about that little story?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, so yeah, at the time I was involved with this organisation. There was two directors. One of the partners of this crime organisation got sent to prison indefinitely. And at the time, the other partner offered me to fill his shoes and to step up as a partner. Bear in mind the sort of money you're talking. They had private jets and they had everything, Aston Martin DB7 or whatever, everything. And just at that time, I had the letter through from the fire service to say that I'd got in, and it was kind of the job I always wanted. So I had literally the roads of good and evil straight in front of me, and obviously I chose good. Yeah.
Good stuff.
Hey, if I'd have known they were going to sack me after 10 years and be on my case, I'd probably been a drug baron right now, eh?
Okay, so I've got not a bone to pick with you, but didn't you once pull my brother when you were working on the doors?
Yeah, just for anybody listening, by pull his brother, he means.
Oh yeah, sorry. No. Okay, let me rephrase that. So I've got a brother who's 4 years younger than me, and I'd moved out at the time. I wasn't living with my parents, and I got a sheepish phone call on Sunday morning from my younger brother saying, if you get a phone call from, he says, "Oh, do you know Joe?" At the time, it was Joe Zalias was Joe Brumed. Do you know Joe Brumed? I'm like, yeah, why? Well, yeah. Anyway, I'll let you tell the story.
Yeah. So yeah, I was working as a doorman at the time, and this lad I'd not seen before, young-looking lad, tips up, passes me his ID, and I see Joe Woodhouse, your name on the ID, your picture. So I said, "Oh, is this really you?" And I started quizzing him about lots of different, like what's your date of birth? He got that right. And I said, it's weird. And I just let him hang himself with the stories. And I said, oh, I don't believe this is you. Tell me some more. So he starts telling me some more. And I got him to just basically hang himself with too much rope. And then I told him, like, after a little while, hey, I was in your brother's class at school. So no, that's not you. And yeah.
Okay.
I still let him in. Though.
Still let him in.
Yeah.
Okay. So what's the worst job you've had?
Oh, the worst job I've had. Ooh, it's very difficult. I'd say the worst job had been part of the fire service. I was on the bariatric rescue team, which, if you don't know, bariatric is the word that's politically correct for super fat people who can't get out of their own beds.
Okay.
And I mean, it's the worst. It is the worst because these people, bless them, they're so vulnerable and they're stuck and trapped inside in their own house. And in fact, they're trapped inside their own bodies. And one of the jobs I had was just the worst. This person had been trapped for sort of 6 weeks, not moved out of the spot for 6 weeks with all that was entailed. And we had to go in and move them. And I cannot tell you the level, the smell is the worst. And this is a disgusting thing, but I can handle anything. I can see anything. It doesn't affect me, but smells, I'm super sensitive to smells. And the smell is just, it's worse than dead bodies. It's worse than rotting flesh. It's just a combination of human nastiness. Anyway, so I get home after this one really terrible job. I shower myself, like 10 times, wash myself down. I get out and I think, thank God that's just a distant memory, and I'm sat trying to forget it, and I'm sat eating my dinner, and midway through one of my forkfuls I sneezed and I smelled it all again. That was them jobs were rough.
Wow.
Okay. So how did you go from that then to, I mean, okay, so was it a big decision for you pursuing, how did you get into comedy? Let's put it this way.
Okay, so I got into comedy because everybody else who was in the fire service, everybody has a second job. And I thought, well, with my salary being covered, what would I want to do? And I saw a comedian on TV who wasn't very good. And I thought, I'm going to have a go at that. It looks actually quite easy. And I tried it, and it turned out actually it is quite easy. And people started paying me for it. But making the jump was very, very scary, because when you're used to, like, I'm sure you guys have both done real jobs where you're used to regular wage coming in. That's how they get you. That's how they enslave you. And that's how they're making slaves of everybody worldwide, is 30 grand a year in a pension, and they own you. So actually taking that jump was very, very scary, but it's the best thing I have ever done.
So you've gone on to do, short films, TV scripts and everything else. How did you fall into that from the comedy? What was the next move?
Okay, so from the comedy, well, the screenwriting thing's a really recent thing. I'd written a couple of novels. I've always been into that. I've always been into reading. And I'd written and had published a couple of novels. And a friend of mine is a guy called Adam Ethan Crow. If you look him up, he's a filmmaker now, but he was a comedian, and he'd written a short film called Warhol. And if you look on YouTube, it's available for free on YouTube, Warhol short film. And it's amazing, absolutely mind-blowingly good. And it won every award going, absolutely everything. And then all of a sudden his life completely changed, and and he's a director living in between LA and London. You see his lifestyle and you're just like, I want some of that. So I'd written, so I tried writing a film, and I'd written a full feature-length film as my first ever script. I'd never written a script before in my entire life. I'd written a script, and I'd sent it through to a couple of contacts I have, producers and that sort of thing. And one of them, well, I had two come back to me straight away. The first two I sent them to, one saying, I love it so far. I'm probably going to want to make this. Let's talk in a couple of weeks.
And this one you'd ever written?
First one I'd ever written, and this, and then it was lockdown. Right, so I sent it to another friend of mine who'd read this. He started reading it. He said the same thing. I'm only halfway through it, but I'm loving it so far. I can tell you can clearly write. I've actually got another job for you. if you want it as I'm finishing your script. And then I can't tell you much about that project, but it's sent me a contract through to write 2 episodes of a TV series, a comedy TV series. So I'm official, and I'm contracted, and I'm officially a professional screenwriter. And I sat down in front. I sat down with this idea to try it. February, the first time I attempted writing a script, and here I am.
Love it. So for you personally, then,
yeah,
going back into the days where you had the turning stick and you're ahead of your time, you got the innovation. Do you think that was the turning point, literally, no pun intended, that made you turn into the individual you are? Was that the nous, the hunger, the entrepreneurialism in you that wanted to find that next move? How can I become?
I don't think it was. I think that's always been in me. It's actually more knowing what you don't want to do. I think that taught me what I don't want to do. What I don't want to do is turn tins of paint forever. So I'm going to make this stick do that for me. And
forever were pretty quick for you, though, weren't it? Once you discovered the stick.
Oh, it was fantastic. I think the most important thing for me, when I found screenwriting, especially, I realised it was what I want to do. It was like coming home. And I've been close to finding that before with the comedy and with the writing novels. And it's about experimenting to find out what that is, because ultimately, if you're not doing what you want to do, life is long and tedious, and you may as well not be doing it, because you spend more than half your life, don't you, at work, generally. So you may as well, if you don't find something you like doing, it's a tough life.
Yeah, and I must admit, when we spoke last week, so again, even though Joe and I went to school together, we've not spoken.
No, not in a long time.
Donkey's years, have we? So it was great to catch up last week. And one of the things that you said to me, which really resonated, was basically just about following your dreams and being happy.
Yeah.
I suppose really that's the gist of this whole podcast.
Yeah.
So I know one of the things we spoke about as well was obviously so what's the biggest challenges that you've had, sort of personally and professionally, along the way?
I mean, I've earned a fair bit of money and lost it all twice, both through relationship breakups, one divorce, and I think that's the most difficult thing I've faced is not adversity as such, and not actually circumstances being bad. It's being trapped and being alive but dying. For 8 years, when I was married, I had 3 kids as well, young, and I had a job I didn't really like anymore. And 8 years of just walking around like the grey man, that's tough. It's not like now. Some months I might look at life and not know how I'm going to pay my mortgage and be worried about money from time to time, and nothing compares on a difficulty level to actually having a life you don't enjoy.
So how did you get out of that then?
I cheated on it. No, I'm joking. Right.
We'll cut that bit out.
No, leave it in. I don't care. No, leave it in. What I did is I started. I knew I had to leave and everything, the marriage, and kind of look at doing something I wanted to do. But have you ever heard of Ikigai? You ever heard of this? Okay, it's a Japanese term, and I've read a book I read the book called Ikigai, and it describes what you should be doing and finding purpose for yourself. And it says whatever it is that you do, that you can get absolutely lost in that moment and find your flow. So whatever it is, it completely consumes you. You forget about everything around you because you're just enjoying it so much. Find out what creates that for you and do that more. And that's it. And that's changed my life, finding that out, And it changed everything as well. It changes the goals you set, because I used to be really goal oriented. Like I'd sit down and I'd say, I want to write a novel in 3 months, or etc. And I always found that like staring up at a big mountain, and it's very difficult to climb. You end up getting writer's block. Whereas if you say, I'm going to try from now on spending at least 2 hours a day in my Akigai or whatever, in the moment where I'm doing exactly what I want to do and enjoying that writing experience, all of a sudden, the kind of mountain takes care of itself.
So you're either thriving or surviving, and you found yourself, just existing and surviving that action. And what it seems like is that you've just been relentless in taking action throughout your life to get to the next step, to just keep moving.
Yeah.
And is that your biggest revelation to people who are listening in right now? Just take action. Take action, because it's not, you're not going to find what you want to do in life and success, however you define that, by sleepwalking. You've got to wake up, and you've got to wake up now, because we look at this, Joe, don't we? We're 33 now. You're 33, right?
Yeah.
We look at some people, that initial factory turning them tins of paint. I know at least one person at our school who is still doing that same job, and he's miserable.
Yeah.
But he's got a mortgage now, and he's got kids to feed. The longer you leave it, the more commitments you have that stop you doing it. Do it, and do it now, and sacrifice anything for it as well. That's the other thing. Take action and make sacrifices, because I'd sacrifice anything to find out what you want to do, because otherwise you're going to be a long time dead and you're never going to have done anything.
So say you're dealing with an individual who's got all these commitments. He's found himself, he's got 2 kids, got a wife and everything else, and he's still wanting to make those changes. What's your biggest advice for him as an individual then?
Leave your wife. Because I don't know.
Hang on, I've got to have a chat with Laura.
Do you know what? As ridiculous as that sounds, depends if you like them or not.
Yeah, that's true.
Honestly, it comes down to that. If you like them and you love being with them and they're part of that whole picture, just keep on keeping on, and just make sure you put one of the biggest things, get off of social media for a while, kind of go to ground, and any time that you would normally squander, because you can always find time for something. People say, they've got these commitments, and say, I've not got time to start a business, I've not got time to sort my finances out, I've not got time to write a novel, but yet they'll sit every single night and binge watch a series. They've got time. Everybody has the same amount of hours in every day. So if your wife and kids are part of the picture, and you love them all and you enjoy the time, then do it. But my best advice to you, if you're miserable in your relationship and you don't actually like the person you're with, even if you've got kids, leave them, because trust me, it's so much easier when you get timeshare with the kids to actually get things done. So
nice.
Just leave them straight away. Leave them.
I'm enjoying this. It's been great.
You can tell James is single.
Well, there you go.
So how's the COVID-19 pandemic, lockdown, whatever you want to call it, how has that personally affected you?
Personally, for me, it's I was a full-time stand-up comedian, and I looked at the diary in February and I went, okay, this is great. I'm bettering and making more than my fire service wage consistently up until August, so we're going to be okay. And then pretty much overnight, it all disappeared. So all my income's gone, everything, in one go. And that's how it's affected me.
But if that wouldn't have happened, would you stumble across the screenwriting gig that you've got? Probably
by hook or by crook, I would have found a way into it. But I think what this did as well, it made the person who I'm co-writing this series with have the time to actually put in to starting me off on that, and also and it gave me the time to actually fully focus on what it is. And we've back and forth, we've co-written the pilot and episode, and it's fantastic. I love it, and I think actually it's given me the time to actually do that.
Okay. Every cloud.
One door closes.
Yeah.
For sure.
Pretty similar with us, to be fair. I mean, we've been talking about doing this since last September, October.
For sure.
And it's only his last week where we're like, should we do it? Yeah, why not? And then we jump straight on it. So, and that's only because really, again, talking of time, like I say, if you want to do something, you'll make time, won't you? But
yeah,
I think for myself and James, we've just made it a priority for now. So far, so good. We're enjoying it.
Loving it.
Yeah,
Loving
good.
it. Okay. My question for you, Joe, is now you're in the game of screenwriting, acting, and everything else. What are your biggest drivers? Who are the people you look up to and inspire to emulate or model?
Oh God, there's some big questions there. So who do I look up to? I think I look up to people like Matt Damon, and things like that, because he was a struggling actor. I don't know if you know his story, and couldn't get acting work, so he'd written Good Will Hunting.
Did he write that?
He wrote that, and
I
he
didn't know
refused.
that.
They offered him millions to just sell him the thing, but he said, no, I want the lead role in it too. Similar story to the Rocky story with Stallone, so people like that inspire me. There's so many different, there's so much out there, and you've just got to work at it, and you've just got to, that's all it's about. Everybody's got, like we said, everybody's got the same amount of time in a day. I just want to be one of them stories. That's what inspires me. I want to be one of them stories. I want people to tell them stories about me. And also, I want the humongous character flaws in my personality to have all been for something.
I guess this is the thing, though, isn't it? Like, you have like 99% of the population, even more than that, have big dreams of what they want to achieve, but they just stay in their shell. And it just stays a dream instead of a reality, because they never take action, like you said.
Yeah.
But for you just said, fuck it, I'm going all right. I'm doing this.
Yeah.
I'm finding a way. Like you said, I'm finding a way.
Yeah.
Do you think that's just a personality trait that you have that's just in your DNA that just makes you shit?
Yeah,
I think
I just kind of, I don't know where it comes from exactly. It might be from having a good, good role models. It might be genetic. I don't know, but I've certainly got what a lot of people haven't. I get up from a defeat so much quicker than anybody else. That's my secret that I've not really spoke to anybody about. I remember one week in writing a novel. I had this one week where I had 3 bad things happen, like life-changing, like, oh crap, sort of moments in one morning. And I deliberately picked myself up off the floor within 30 minutes of reading that, pushed it all to the side and started doing something positive. And I think that's the secret, is learning to get up quicker from defeat than other people and having another go. That's it.
Fail forward, right? That's what it is.
Yeah, exactly.
Keep failing forward.
Yeah.
Fail forward.
Okay. Wow. Okay. And I mean, you say obviously having decent role models. So have you ever had mentors, or what's your view on mentors?
I've never had official mentors, but I've definitely had people around me who inspire me and who I learn from. There's certain people, connections you make with people. You either feel that you either get that connection with somebody or you don't. And I think trying to force them connections never works. But there's certain people. Yeah. There's my friend now, Adam Crowe, he's the director, screenwriter, everything. I've instantly just gone, wow, that guy's kind of like my mentor. You don't even know that, but he is. I'll pick his brains about things and I watch what he's doing. Yeah. And that sort of thing. So I had a few people through my life who I'll just latch on to, and yeah.
On the flip side, do you see yourself doing that for young comedians coming up as well?
Yeah, absolutely. I do that for a fair few people too, and I'll set people off. Kind of giving back, I suppose.
Yeah.
Mm.
For the guys who are listening in, for who's tuning in, obviously you've made some big transformation in your career and your life. If there was 1 or 2 things, biggest advice or tips that you give to people listening in for them to take action on, what would they be? Okay,
first thing would be to find out what your, not purpose, but something you want to do that you could devote your life to. If you don't know what that is, find it. Devote as much time as you can. And this time when it's on lockdown is the perfect time. If you think you might want to be a writer, start writing. If you think you might want to start that business, start it. Put things in place. So find out what it is you should be doing with your life and start doing it. That's the first. And second would be recover and get up off the floor after defeat quicker than anybody else, and you'll go further than anybody else. That's it.
Okay. So what's next for Joe Zalias?
What's next for me? I'm going to get this film made, the script I've written. I think it's a great idea as well. And I think I'll get that film made, and then I'll write a few more projects, get myself a bit of a name, get myself a house in the Hollywood Hills, date a couple of Brazilian bikini models.
Remember us, yeah? Remember us when you're
Don't forget your old schoolmate Joe.
Yeah, by the way, that's not the last point. It's not true anyway. I've got a girlfriend and she's lovely, and actually that's part of the thing that's been at the minute that's changed my life more than anything, is that I've got a partner who actually supports what I do. And you know, not to be disparaging to anybody I've had before, but I've always found that me striving for something else has always been laborious and a chore, and it's like, you know, but now I've got the support. I had this time where the fire service, I were under investigation, I were doing the stand-up, and Donna, my partner, sat me down and said, look, I don't need your money. What is it you want to do? Just do it. And that's what got me on the road to thinking, what do I actually want to do? Like, and started me doing it on that road, and having a supportive partner, or no partner, as James is going for, he's like one of the most important.
There's time. Oh, there's time.
Yeah, but there's not miracles, is there, James? Let's face it. I'm only kidding.
Oh, I love it. It's turned into a proper banter session. I'm used to this with Joe anyway, and now I've got you on it. So say that on the chin.
Yeah. So yeah, it's been a pleasure. Thank you for your time, buddy.
Yeah,
It's great to catch up, and once all this is over, we'll have to grab a beer.
Excellent.
Joe, thank you very much for coming on.
All right.
Cheers. Nice one.
Thanks, guys. Take care. Bye now.